I just watched Mother on Hulu for like the 5th time in a row, and my mind is still reeling. I had never heard of this movie, but I like Jennifer Lawrence, so I put it on, and oh my gosh, it was a really tense experience for me. My eyes and ears were open trying to make sense of everything, and not being able to crack this director's thought process was giving me anxiety. I wanted a clear answer so badly. And I'm gonna trust that you'll watch it on your own before watching this theory, because it's so weird that I don't think I could give it any justice in a summary. But while the film is highly debatable, here's what I've pieced together. First though, let me briefly cover some other options. It's possible that it's all a story that the poet wrote after his wife died and he remarried, kind of like a grieving guilt thing. Or he could have been in a crazy cult like Paranormal Activity, but that notion leaves a lot to be desired as we jump through time so much. So looking at how things kept changing in a flash, I seriously believe that Veronica had something off with her brain. Maybe schizophrenia, a dissociative identity disorder, short-term memory problems, autism, or even PTSD. Seriously, I almost sat down and made this entire theory revolve around the idea that Veronica had been a soldier in a war zone who suffers from PTSD, along with several other mental disorders that make her see things, lose large chunks of time, and become hypersensitive to group settings. Like everything was going to be from her point of view and nowhere near as bad in real life. It really works in some angles, like how multiple people scoff at Veronica when she states that they're in her home. That would be very fitting if she was having episodes while in a homeless shelter or like a supervised group home for the mentally ill. Then when I went to Google the characters' names to start writing this script, I noticed something really odd. Aside from the main character Veronica, everyone else had a strange official name. Her husband, for example, is only listed as him with a capital H. And I am going to be using that like a name from here on out. Others in the film are named man, woman, bumbler, philanderer, fool, damsel, adulterer, zealot. I mean, I know these people don't have big roles in the film, but usually you'd see like drunk guy number 1 and party girls with a list of names. Yet all of these characters are named by traits, many of which they don't even display in the movie. Even Kristen Wiig as the editor held the name of Harold in the movie. Just so bizarre and kind of biblical. If we break down the events of the movie, there's definitely a lot of biblical references. The man shows up uninvited and is offered a place to stay. Then the woman who is his wife suddenly appears. Then their 2 sons shows up and one kills the other, which for some reason results in a wake being held in Veronica's home, even though they've only known these people for a few days at most. At that point, all these random people are in the house, taking, breaking, and changing things until Veronica gets fed up and throws everyone out. I'm not a scholar on the Bible by any means, but that sounds like a direct parallel to Adam and Eve being cast out of the Garden of Eden, with the 2 sons being Cain and Abel. Then of course we have him and Veronica having a baby at the same time that him finds great success with his writing, causing people to show up everywhere, overwhelm the house, then start stealing, killing, and going insane in some rooms, while other rooms seem to be having sermons to indoctrinate people into him's religion. Marking your symbol on people's forehead, I mean, you really don't get much more on the nose than that. There's a number of things that don't mesh with the religious angle though, like the Harold shooting people in the head with a semi-sunny disposition, or the people eating the baby. Like, there's lines you don't cross, cinema. Oh my gosh, I threw up just thinking about it again. When we look at the end of the film, when him takes Veronica's heart, it's really, really weird. Veronica has given him everything, and he still wants more, which is why he asks for her heart. Like the giving tree, Veronica says to take it, and she turns to ash, while him turns the burnt up heart into a diamond that resets everything about the charred up house. And our last scene shows a different female following in the exact same footsteps as Veronica, and I think that might have been the burning woman we saw in the beginning of the film too. So there's something more cyclical going on here than just replacing one woman with a new woman. And what I think is happening here is that we're dealing with a system with 2 equal gods like Taoism, or this is an allegory for man and religion, and while Mother seems like an easy substitute for Mother Earth, so Veronica is the earth being overwhelmed and defiled, that answer isn't fulfilling enough for me. It seems more reasonable that him is a false cognate. I mean, our crazy poet is named Him, so we're compelled to picture his character as a god. But I believe that we're being misdirected. I really feel like Veronica is God in this scenario. She worked really hard to make the house a personal paradise. She kicked out the man and the woman along with their friends. She gave up her only son, which the masses killed. She was cursed and beaten when the masses didn't get their way. And she brought forth the fire to smite the wicked. Well, to smite everyone except him. I'm not sure if him is representational of the human race, the earth, religious disciples, or religion itself, but I see him as a prophet in many ways. Him is very interesting in that regard because it's his house, i.e. the earth, and that's why he gets to say who stays there. But he's also very upset anytime Veronica moves away from him, sort of like people praying for a miracle in bad times. Not to mention, she inspires him, as many people, especially religious leaders, would find inspiration in God. Really, him is almost like Jesus because people are flocking to him and worshiping him, and he's not doing well with balancing fame versus his relationship with God. Him keeps giving credit back to Veronica, but she won't come forward and be seen, also very similar to God. Whatever he is, him survives the fire with no sign of harm, then takes Veronica's heart out of her chest. And it's done so unceremoniously. But there is a systematic theme in there, as him tells Veronica that he took her to the beginning and she won't suffer for long, even slightly mocking that he still knows she loves him. And based on the other things we see, this exact event has been a pattern where a different woman burns the house down so that another can get sucked into rebuilding it. That's the key point here, because that is heavily symbolic for a god being replaced by the people that created it. Don't forget, we see him create Veronica out of ashes at the beginning and a new girl out of ashes at the end. So him made them. For argument's sake, let's assume that him is a prophet. That ending would mean that he doesn't need Veronica to create stories anymore, so he's replacing her with a new god that follows an almost identical path, which, if you study religions and mythologies even a little bit, you'll see that a lot of stories are taken from one culture and put into another, with slight changes and new names being recycled due to a lack of creativity and or a way to entice people to join a new religion due to familiarity. And I heavily lean towards him being a type of false prophet because him calls Veronica his goddess, then he gains great fame from the inspiration she gave him, then we watch him leave his left thumbprint on his followers, which, fun fact, symbolically using the left hand is a sign of something sinister. And when everyone turns on Veronica, aka God, the prophet steps in multiple times to save her because they listen to him because he speaks of her directly to them. She is the god. He is, well, I'm not sure. Him could be an equal god, the devil, or symbolic for the notion that we'll never get rid of false prophets abusing religion for their own purposes and gain. It might not be reality, but I'm doing the best I can because this is a surreal nightmare of a movie. Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories. So please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have two other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Fanily Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, hey, I made it to the end, and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.